So you have painted the canvas of this project. It has been released. What are you most excited about for the message that we are about to receive?
I just feel as though I want people to connect with it because I've poured my heart and my soul into this project, and the way that I've poured my heart and soul into this project. And the fact that this is one of those things where, as a very self-critical person, being able to be so proud of what I've put out, I just want people to feel the same way I feel when I listen to it. Because I listen to it too.
I've listened to the full album.
Yay.
A lot of ideations within this album deal a lot with the matter of the truth or the truth of things. Why is it important for you to speak your truth now?
Speaking my truth now is not something that I actively chose to do. I think it's the culmination of years and years of doing this work, of being a spoken word poet and coming from the underground open mic scene and coming from the space where I just want to share a poem to moving through the space of I want people to hear what I have to say, to get into the point where I've learned a lot about myself through this art form and because of this art form and because of these spaces that it has allowed me to be in. So I've been in Barbados, yes, but I've also been in South Africa and France and Colombia recently this summer. And each time I engage in a different poetry space, I get to learn something more about myself and this art form. And then the people that it has connected me to in Lucy, in DJ, and Adrian, have also given me the gift of growth just by observing them performing, reading their work, listening to their work, having conversations with them. And so it was not a case where I was like, I want to speak my truth now. It was a case where what came out was the culmination of all the work that I've been doing, whether actively or not, to get to a point where I'm like, this is who I am, and I live and breathe in this authenticity, and I love that for myself.
You claim yourself to be a spoken word poet versus a spoken word artist. Is there a reason for that?
I believe that I actually would use those interchangeably at this point. I think when I first started, spoken word poet was what I heard, more so than spoken word artist. So I started poetry in 2013, and I think somewhere around 2016, 2017 is when I realized that there was a slight nuance difference between what it means to be artist in terms of the performance and all the different facets of what it means to be a spoken word artist. And I don't think I was really doing that as yet. So spoken word poet was more comfortable for me to identify with. But then I got to like 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm at the year 11 of doing this now. And then I got to 7, 8, and 9. I was like, wow. Okay, I've worked on being the poet, as in like the writer, but what am I taking away from myself if I'm not giving the pieces a space to breathe beyond me? I can still call myself a spoken word poet, but I think at this point, it's better to call myself a spoken word artist because I've sat down and I've actually considered each facet of the art form, the writing, the performance, the visual, the sound. All of those things now are very intentional parts of the process of shaping my work.
Do you think that there is a lack of urgency in the work versus I am on social media and I should look good?
I've had this conversation with who I consider to be like my mentors. So I've had this conversation with Adrian Green. I've had this conversation with Dr. Yvonne Weeks, and they kind of occupy different spaces because Dr. Weeks is theater practitioner, poet by author. Well, Adrian is kind of both too, but I knew him as spoken word artist first. We kind of go back and forth on which one it is as well. But for me, I think where I stand now, as I look and observe younger spoken word poets, I think we kind of get stuck in like the open mic mentality, where it's always a safe space. It's always kind of comfortable. People are open to listening to you. People are allowing you to share and applauding the bravery of sharing. And that's a fantastic part of the development of a spoken word artist, I think, because that's what I came out of. It's very near and dear to my heart. But then I think sometimes that we don't really step beyond that developmentally, as like the younger generation of poets don't really step outside of that comfort zone as much. If they're called to these spaces, they're not necessarily doing that work within themselves. And it's so unfortunate, because I'm like, these people have so much potential, these people have so much talent just sitting there waiting to be unearthed, especially if they really get to focus on each element of the process of being a spoken word artist. Yes, you're a great writer, but what are you missing in performance? What are you missing in the sound? What are you missing in the visual element of it? All of these things that make up what I think is the spoken word art form as a whole. And that really came from me because I've been blessed to be able to travel, and I've gone to different places. And I remember going to South Africa in 2019 and watching some poets from across the African continent perform. And I sat down in the crowd and I was like, I don't want to perform anymore because maybe I'm not that good. And it really forced me to be like, all right, what is it about them that makes me feel like I am not as good at the art form that I love as they are? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And I think sometimes the younger generation of poets kind of doesn't necessarily focus on that. I don't know if that's a lack of opportunity to do so, or if it's just the comfort of, all right, I'm accepted already, so I don't really need to push further. But I think that's what it is, really, more so than a lack of technique. There's a space issue. There's some kind of disconnect that happens between moving beyond the open mic spoken word poet as opposed to a spoken word artist. There's a pipeline there, I think.
What is one truth and one lie about this album?
One truth and one lie. Wow, it's difficult to kind of think about that. I think the major truth about this album is that it will bring you face to face with yourself, whether you want it to or not. And that's because it definitely did it about me. I was like, all right, just here gonna drag myself. Cool. Dragging myself for everybody to see. That's one truth. But I gave that away. That is the truth. So I might try another truth and a lie. I can not say which one is which. I wrote all of this album this year. This entire album. The whole thing. Thank you, therapy. And then the other thing I'm going to say is it moves you from darkness to light. I'm not going to say which is which.
That's the fun part. Would you say love is truth?
Oof. That's a bar. Sorry. I think love is a part of it. I think love is the way that you discover truth. I think love is a necessary part of truth that needs to be explored. And love in all of its shapes, forms, and fashions. For me, that journey to truth came through the love of poetry, for example. And that's I think why this album named itself, because I say all the time, this whole album, I'm just a conduit for it. It came out of me. It came out of my experience, yes, and it's very largely me, but it told me what it wanted to say and how it wanted to say it. And so Love in My Language, the title of the album, kind of just became a self-fulfilling prophecy and an entity in and of itself. But the whole gist of it is that I was able to discover who Cyndi Celeste is just through the work and through loving this art form that I do. And I think that's pretty beautiful. I think that's the power of art in and of itself. Like, your love for art allows you to discover so much.
What is the poetry you're seeing now in society? What are the things we are talking about?
Poetry, and this particular form of poetry, spoken word, has always been about speaking truth to power, has always been about discussing social issues and what's going on and what's impacting the people. And I don't think that has changed. So recently we've had a lot of gun violence and violence among youth. And I've heard that coming up a good set. Recently as well in Barbados, the conversation around reparations, especially in the wake of becoming a republic. So a lot of pieces I'm hearing about identity and about our pasts and what reparations could possibly look like. That's the kind of work I'm seeing in Barbados specifically. Across the world, I see a whole bunch of different topics. Climate change is another one that comes up for certain. But what are we not talking about? I think there's so much focus on talking about the things outside of us that are affecting us that sometimes we don't talk about the things inside us that are affecting us. And I think that this project, Loving My Language, achieves that too, because like I said, it's so much about self and the journey that I've been through. And while I hope it resonates with other people, this project was so much for the first audience that is me. And being able to put together a whole set of work, a collection of work that I don't like hearing my voice, I don't want to listen to this, I don't want to play it, kind of thing. That was so important to me. And so like the whole idea of going within, I think those pieces are missing for me. And maybe that's why Loving My Language came out the way it did and when it did. But that's, I think, what we're not quite discussing as deep as an extent as we've talked about other topics.
What is your favorite piece on the album?
That is such an unfair question. I feel like I have to prepare a response for this question if I keep doing interviews. But no, on a serious note, I have a new favorite piece every other day. I think though the one that snuck up on me as a favorite is Self-Love Sonata. Whenever I listen to it, it feels like a nice calm breeze blowing through a house that got some wind chimes that made out of wood, because I don't really like the metal ones because they're clangy. But like the little doom, 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 those wind chimes, it feels like, and I can't help but smile every time I listen to it. It feels like the kind of piece that no matter what mood I'm in, I could just be like, let me listen to this piece and just hear, give yourself a hug for me, or flash me one of them skin teeth smiles. I'm like, yes, you're right.
Every day sings a new song. Sunrise strums the first chords in a chorus of care to caress your ears with the wake-up call that all the possibility in you is waiting. Impatient, imminent, liminal, inevitable, if only you seize the moment from the ether and make it tangible creation, mirror motivation, your mana and mantra. Tell yourself, you look like liberty. Magic made meaning manifest as matter. You glitter and glow like your bones are semi-precious stones and your blood is twice blessed water.
Yes.
As though you are a self.
Favorite line. That's so sweet. Like you glitter and glow like your bones are. Don't use that as a pickup line, y'all. It's dangerous energy. Very dangerous.
If you were to look at the producer of this album and express your gratitude for the work that they've done on it, what would you say?
I don't think there are any words to express how world-changing it has been working with someone who is as empathetic, as talented, as gifted, as intuitive as you. And as much as this project is my heart and soul, I think that it is more our heart and soul because of the fact that you have poured in as much as the same kind of energy and love and joy and pain and emotion into this as I have. And I'm literally getting choked up because I don't think thank you or the depths of my gratitude could be enough to really say how much I appreciate love, all of the effort, all of the time that went into making this possible. Y'all gonna make me smudge my eyeliner.
Working on this project has been an amazing journey. It has pushed me, pushed my creativity, pushed my work ethic, and also just showed me that there's so much more that could be done with poetry, with production, with spoken word. It's been a fun journey, emotional. Working with you is amazing. Such a creative person, very, very good at what you do. Very, very good. Going through the different sounds and the different kind of things that we want to do, the different emotions we want to invoke with each piece. That process was beautiful. I think we did an amazing job, and I think it is going places. We going places.
How did your experience in Beige to the World help to shape what you wanted to communicate in this way?
Whew. Wow. Beige to the World is an experience that I think that up until now, a year later, I'm still processing in some ways. I think the emotional roller coaster, the sheer weight of what I challenged myself to do throughout that competition is something that I didn't know when I was going through it that it would change me as much as it did, or in the ways that it did. Don't get me wrong, I knew that it would change me, but let's say something like 10-ish poems over the course of maybe 3 months. Had never written that fast, that many before. I had to contort myself into all of these different spaces, but what I will say, especially as it relates to like this project and the work that I have been doing since the competition, it pushed me outside of doing what I thought was Cyndi. It pushed me outside of this very monolithic idea of what I could do with my poetry. It challenged me to think about things like, how do I style this performance? How do I light this performance? What visuals do I want to accent this performance? Like, it moved me from spoken word poet to spoken word artist, because now I'm thinking about not only the writing and the performance, which is great, that's all the poet things, but also the production of it. Also, how does music play into, how does the synergy between the music and the tone of the music play into how I say the words? Like, that's also a part of performance that I didn't really consider as much before. I never thought ever in my life that I would end up writing a spooge poem or a reggae poem, or there was another one, a soca poem. I think I wrote 2 soca poems by the end of it. I very comfortably kind of stay in this neo soul, jazz, R&B, very 80s, 90s R&B inspired vibe, and like modernizing that and making it Caribbean, making it Barbadian, and not superficially, like really challenge yourself to go for it. And then I think by the semifinals, I also wrote a bashment poem. Not a thing that I saw myself doing, but all of those things played into how I now consider music and the agency of it and what it can do in conjunction with words. So when you listen to Love in My Language, you also hear like influences from weirder places. We got influences from cinema, we got influences from classical, we got influences from hip hop, and they all kind of come together to make this very, very ethereal, still very much in the kind of slow down vibe that I like, but it's a broader spectrum. It's a more well-rounded version of that sound, I think. And I don't know, it's very, very exciting to think of a piece and think, okay, what do I want the music to sound like? Oh, I want it to sound creepy, but I want it to sound like movie creepy. I want like Stanley Kubrick. Or I want this to be like the unholy offspring of Afro beats and some other obscure genre. You know what I mean? Yeah, Beige definitely was like, you gonna learn some stuff that you didn't even think that you would need, and it's gonna change your life. And it did.
How did you select the other artists you have collaborated with?
Ooh, so first of all, huge, massive, big love, all the spirit, all of my oomph to Shiana and Kweku for coming on board with this project. And also to my school friend Martin, who very much likes to stay in the shadows, but he composed the music for the very last piece on the album, If We Must. Huge shout out to them. Oh my goodness, I just remember being in the studio with Shiana, and then being in the studio with Kweku and sitting and going, can't ask for anything more. But Shian and Kweku are people I very much deeply respect. I've been to countless shows. I remember the first time I saw Shian, and she did her set, and then at the end of it, she said to the crowd, okay, I would like you to give me 3 words, and I'm gonna make a song. And I'm like, she not meaning she can make a song right now. Huh? What now? But she got the words. She said, okay. Probably like 30 seconds. She looked back at the guitarist. And then she turned around. It's just an idea, but if I plan it here, it becomes a reality. No, I was like, this woman just sat on wrote a whole 3-minute song right in front of my face. I was so floored. And every single time I hear Shian perform, my skin, like just thinking about it, all of my skin is just be like goosebumps, goosebumps, goosebumps. I get chill from the top of my head to the middle of my spine, and I'm just like, I could feel literally everything. When I wrote Channel, I don't know what to say in this chorus, but it needs a chorus. So I reached out to her manager, Mosey. Shout out to Mosey and Riptide Music Group. Thank you so much for indulging me and being a part of this and coming on board with this project. I said, I would like to work with Shian. I would like if she would write a chorus for this particular track. And, you know, it's something that is super near and dear to me at this point. So I'm like, you know, I only want you to be a part of it if you want to be a part of it, if it resonates with you, if it makes you feel something. And when she listened to the words and the track, she sent me an email. She was like, your words are so powerful. And then I remember her coming into the studio and saying like she was nervous to hop on this project. I was like, ma'am, but you're you. What do you mean? And then she just went in the studio and like it. I was like, maybe the track told me that was who would be the best person to work with. And then Kweku, I wanted to work with Kweku specifically because I see Kweku blow the bejesus out of a trumpet. And the track that he's on, Full Moon Magic, this feel like this is one of them performing in like a jazz lounge with like low blue lights and smoke at your feet thing. Like I'm seeing the visuals, I'm hearing the kind of sound I'm going for. And I'm like, you know who would be great? I feel like Kweku would be fantastic. And we kind of just let him rip. So again, part of it was the word saying, these are the people I want to work with. Saying that to me as the conduit. But part of it too was, I feel as though these people connect and vibrate on the same level as me.
Tell your mother how you feel about where you are now.
I released the first EP the same year that she passed. Later the same year that she passed. On her birthday. And throughout this project, some of the people I've worked with, Anthony Lohar from Commercial Music, huge, massive shout outs to Commercial Music Inc. He said he used to work with my mother as well because she managed the syndicate, so they had. And he was like, your mother would be so proud of you. And I was like, y'all not gonna make a gangster cry today. It's not happening. But if I had to talk to my mom about where I've been and where I am now, I hope that this project is further proof that I keep doing the work to be the best version of me, not just as poet, but just as person, as individual, as a daughter, as a friend. I hope it is evidence that I have continued to and promise to continue to do the work to be the best version of me for myself and for all the people who pour into me and have poured into me my entire life. My name was given to me by you, and to carry a part of you in me in every part of my work is an honor that I don't take lightly, an inheritance that I don't take lightly. Our name, yours Celestine, mine Celeste, literally means all are related to the heavens. And keeping those virtues close to my heart, close to my work, is now more intentionally what I strive to do, so that I am always the truest form of myself, or truest version of myself that I can possibly be in the way that you raised me to be. Did it get a little teary in here? Whew! You can stream Love in My Language first and foremost by selected charts, because as always, home drums beat first, and I will always support Selected Charts and the team at Selected Charts for what they're doing to become the home of streaming Caribbean music, because we from both here. But also on all other major streaming platforms, because we manifest major streaming platforms, Selected Charts, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, Tidal. I feel like I just be missing some, but those are definitely the ones that you can 100% find. Or you could go to my website, because I have a website, y'all, which is CyndiCeleste.com. And it will give you all those nice streaming options. But if you want to purchase the album in its entirety, you can get it from iTunes or you can get it from Bandcamp. I got all of them now.